Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I just give you a couple seconds, minutes, I don't know, to come in for our webinar with Mystele, Marsha, and Gwen about what's the point, purpose versus journey. If that's not where you want it to be, I'm sorry, but I hope you're right. Before we start, let me quickly introduce myself because sometimes you might not know me, so that's cool. I'm Mystele Kirkeeng. I am the host of Spill Your Heart, and I'm also a mixed media artist living in Jersey City, New Jersey. I have a thick German accent because that's where I'm originally from. And if you want to know more about my work, you can check out my website and my Instagram, and Kim is going to put that in the chat. I love to collaborate with other artists. That's why I do annually Creative Jumpstart, which some of you might know, and all three of my guests today have been teachers in this big online event actually for many years, and they're amazing teachers and wonderful people to talk with. If you want to hear more about the things that I talk with other artists about or the online workshops, you can join my Facebook group if you want, Stroll the hood. That's what I call it because I do this for years. And yeah, just join the Facebook group that I have, and you will hear everything about new things and topics that come out. But without further ado, oh no, wait, one more thing I want to point out. I have another webinar coming up next Wednesday, which I do with my dear friend Sarah Matthews. We do a monthly webinar, which is called Art Collab Zoomcast, kind of the same format as this one, but a little bit different. And next Tuesday, June 1st at noon, New York time, we are talking about the Art is Serious, Craft is Fun. That's just a statement. And Sarah and I will discuss what the terms art and craft mean to us, how our definitions may influence what we create and why we create, and how we perceive and react to audience expectations. But now, without further ado, I want to start introducing my wonderful guests, and I'm going to start with Marsha. So Marsha is a freelance craft professional from the Netherlands. She creates amazing craft video tutorials and teaches online classes. She loves printmaking and mixed media art journaling. She's also is also a brand ambassador for Jelly Arts, and a Stencil Girl talk columnist. And as all of the other artists, as I already mentioned, she was one of our fabulous teachers for Creative Jumpstart. I want to show some of her fabulous art. It's a little bit small here. Maybe I can make it full so you can see it a little bit better. So here's some of her gorgeous prints. I believe some of them right now that I'm showing here are part of the Jelly Arts challenge, Birgit Kobsen's challenge, and she shows how she makes these amazing layered prints. And here are some other amazing.
Yeah, these are the two on the outer sides are the Jelly Arts challenge, and the one in the middle is actually the spread I did after I watched Gwen's video from Creative Jumpstart.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome.
That's a wonderful segue too, because let's go to Gwen Lafleur. I'm so stoked to have her. So Gwen Lafleur is an artist, crafter, and designer. She's a columnist and stencil designer for Stencil Girl products. And she has a line of wonderful embossing powders and embellishments with Emerald Creek craft supplies, as well as a line of rubber stamps with Paper Artsy. And I believe she told me, and I think I can say that you have a new line coming out, right?
If I can ever get to it. They don't give me a deadline, so it just keeps getting pushed down. But you know, it could be coming.
But here's some wonderful artwork of Gwen's that I want to show you. It's beautifully layered, and she uses an array of amazing found objects and collected objects out of her beautiful collection, which you can see the drawers behind her. You know, that's where that stuff is stored and
They're
waiting
full.
for you. And then third, we have our wonderful Mystele. I'm so stoked to have Mystele. She started painting in 2008 as an answer to prayer after a long session of depression. She works intuitively and abstract, inspired by her childhood, ethnicity, affinity for old things, and the landscape of Northwest Texas, where she grew up. She's a fabulous teacher, and she shares a lot of her progress and stories on her Instagram channel. And I just want to show you some of her, gorgeous. I love her work so much here. Just look at this. And I believe, Mystele, these are 2 recent paintings that you have done, right?
Yes.
They're so fabulous. Oh, gorgeous.
Thank you.
So definitely check out Mystele, Marsha, and Gwen's links that we have posted in the chats. And here we go. And I just want to introduce our topic, and then we can start. So sometimes people ask me what the purpose of my art is. And I'm sure that a lot of other people get that question too, namely the 3 other artists on the chat here. And another question that often arises, especially when I teach classes, is what I do with the stuff that I make once it is finished. And while they do not ask these questions for me personally, what I do with my paintings, I think that might be sometimes obvious, sometimes not. Often I get asked this about my art journals or other projects that I make besides paintings. And I personally find that interesting. I'm not one, I'm like, because for me, the purpose or why I'm doing this is kind of clear. So then you're in your little bubble and you think everyone should know that. But obviously it's not obvious. And also the reason, the answer might be different for every one of us here in this group. So I thought this would be a really cool way to discuss what our distinct purposes are for creating art. So let's discuss what the purpose of our art is and see what we have in common or also where we differ. Let's start. What is purpose or journey? What is more important for you? And I'm going to start with Marsha.
Okay. So if you take away all of the assignments, the work, then it's definitely journey.
Mystele, how about you?
I think that I just had it in my head and lost it. Oh, the purpose for me is the journey. So it's not, I don't think there is a purpose outside of that. Yeah, for me.
How about you, Gwen?
I have to kind of agree well with both, but especially with what Marsha said about the taking away assignments and things like that, because those are almost a different category. It is really, for me, it's very much the purpose is the journey. I agree with what Mystele said there. It was really well stated.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys, or all 3 of you guys. The assignments are kind of like, of course, there's a bigger purpose, not a bigger, there's a different purpose behind it. And other than that, it's just about making it. So let me ask you another question before we, dive deeper and deeper. What do you do when your art is done? Are you selling it? Are you keeping it? Do you gift it? Do you toss it? All of it? Like, so let's say you did your journey. What's happening?
I was gonna say just like yes, all of the above. I mean, it, I have a whole bunch. You could probably see a little bit behind me. I have a big gallery wall that's mostly my artwork, but some artwork from other artists. So I hang some. I have baskets of art. I mean, I give some away to family. I have some that's commissioned by family, like they specifically want. My sister wanted watercolors of birds for Christmas last year, and so that was what I did for her. But I try to sell. I do sell some of my work. I'm really, really lazy about putting it in my shop, so it's kind of just piles up. And my work is fairly niche, and so even when I do put it in my shop, it's kind of hit or miss as to where it sells. I've given some away. I have like things that I do for assignments in particular, or samples for new products or class samples and things. Those really pile up quickly, and they're not things that I don't feel like I could sell them. And so a lot of times I have a special pile for those that if I have people who place a big order from my shop, or if they order artwork, or if they're just, they're people who have placed an order, but they take a lot of classes or things, I sometimes will just randomly put artwork into the orders that I ship out. Every now and then I just send things to people because I feel like I should. So, and I throw things away sometimes. I'll own it. Sometimes I'm just like, that sucks. I hate it. That was 5 years ago, and there was a purpose for it, but it just makes me angry to see it. And so I'll rip off the things I want to save or save a substrate, and then I just chuck it. And I have never been sorry about doing that.
I know another, I do that too, but I know another person in this little room here who's super ruthless with that. Marsha. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, I can't keep it all. I make too much, and most of it is like for the gel prints, because that is a question I get asked a lot. What do you do with the gel prints when they are done? And then I'm always like, is that a trick question? I don't know. I don't know. When are they done? Are they not good enough to keep, or are they good enough to keep, or what do you want to know? So I never know what to say to that, but I throw a lot away. And why you are asking me is because I was a scrapbooker for more than 10 years, and I threw away maybe 3/4 of what I made.
Gasp!
So did I. Mm-hmm.
So, we never looked into the albums anymore. Most of them were made when I was on a design team, and it was just about the making of the creating for me. And then when it was done and we didn't look at the layouts anymore, I was like, okay, this is taking up space. This needs to go. So yeah, I have only one small case left, and the rest is all gone.
How about you, Mystele?
Yeah, very similar, except I think you guys make a lot more things than I do because of the teams that you're on. But it's the same, like it's the mental space that it takes up. It's stifling. Even just the thought of keeping everything is like, oh, it feels like a big burden. So if it doesn't sell, or it's not in a journal or something, I will either repurpose it, or like what Gwen said, I'll tear off the parts that I like and the rest goes in the trash. Yeah, I just need the space to see what's next.
Yeah, I think for me, I actually just sometimes it changes too. Like if I have a painting that has been sitting around for a while, but I also sometimes you change how you view a painting, and I just cut up actually a canvas. I took it off I took a knife, cut out the part that I liked. It was the part of the building that I liked. And I basically pasted it into a new art journal page, stored away, done. Right? So, and Sherry just said something. Sherry said, thank you for making it okay to release those items that are part of the journey. They fulfilled their purpose, right? You did something with it, you did the journey, and then that purpose is fulfilled, and it's just like, it's okay to let go. Do you have things that are you have a really hard time to let go, and can you tie it to something specifically? Let's say, as an explanation, what I mean, for example, with it, I feel that I have a harder time to let go of the things that I really just did for myself, and have maybe like a deeper story behind it. So for everything, every painting that I do, that I'm very much about the topic of gentrification. So when I do my urban paintings, these are like children that I send out. I love when they sell, and I love where they go, and it makes me super happy. But there's always a little part of me where I'm like a little bit like, oh, la, 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 la. And that's why I'm painting all of them also in a big ledger book, like at the same time, so that I keep a part of it with me. So very weird. Do you have something similar where you're like, yeah, that's a hard one, and can you tie it to a reason? Who wants to go first? Let's say Mystele.
It's the same for me. It's my art journals. Yeah, the like standalone work, I want it to leave. But my art journals, they're a different animal. It is very personal, and it's not that it's more authentic or anything like that. It's just personal. You know, they feel like pieces of me. Yeah.
Interesting. And you also like, do you journal in your art journals?
Sometimes.
Mm. How about the other two, Gwen and Marsha?
Well, I don't think I'm attached to anything. I'm not sure. I don't think I have, because it's also a phase, right? So you make something and then you look back on it, and then you can rip something out. It's the same like with the scrapbooking pages. No, I don't think I have any attachments to anything. I would like to keep the things, but if they go lost, or if I lose them, I think I will be okay. Yeah. I can always make more, right?
How about you, Gwen?
There's very little that I am super attached to. Even my art journals can be fair game. I've ripped or very carefully cut pages out of the art journal and matted them and put them in galleries. It's not, I mean, just because it's in my journal. There are certain books that are like my artist books that have a purpose, and I have a very few, my standalone work, I'm like Mystele, for the most part of it, I just want it gone, because that's the stuff that really takes up the most space and piles up. But I have a few pieces that are really, because of they were the result of a really important emotional journey. And they represent, and they have become highly symbolic of things that were happening in my life at the time that I made them. And so they're, to me, a visual representation of something that I've been through that's deeply, deeply personal. And I can think of two things right now that I have, one that's not put up for sale, and one that I listed it in my portfolio as for sale, but I put like a massively high price on it. I was like, if it's worth more to you than that, then yeah, I'll sell it to you. And eventually I'm ready to let those go. but I have to be able to finish working through what happened. And so I have a few pieces where I'm not there yet. You know, I've had people ask if they could buy them, and I'm like, I am not ready to let go yet because it's too associated with something that I've been through that I'm just not, you know, I'm not ready to let it go. But I will be, because I think that's part of the healing that comes through that process. It's just some things are a long process, but yeah, but other than that, there's really not a whole lot that's all that sacred.
I love how you said that, and I put it out there for everyone else too, but you said, I'm not ready yet working through it. So do you feel that if you cannot let go of the piece yet, that you haven't finished your journey yet with it? Like,
Yeah,
is that
I
part
think
of
that's it. Mhm.
the journey is
Yeah,
not
I have,
over?
it's not over. I'm not ready to completely let go of what prompted that journey in the first place. And I think that for me, that letting go of that is really, um, even if I don't sell it, being able to list it in my shop to me is a very definitive representation of, yes, you've achieved closure. You can move on and let go of that.
I think this is amazing. I've never thought about that. Mystele, you're also nodding and like, I think, do you agree with that statement for yourself too? That's so interesting, isn't it? Like, I've never thought about it. Like, yeah, there's also another part. Like, okay, I'm done with the painting. I did the journey. I'm good. But if I do not let go of it or the piece, then my journey is not over with it. There's still more that has to be done. So that's coming to another question. Like, how important is it for you? Who purchases it? I mean, sometimes we don't know, right? Like that, like you just don't know. But I can say that there are some pieces of artwork where I actually know the people really well, and that it makes me so happy that they have that piece of artwork. And I couldn't be like, I mean, I'm always happy that someone like, you know, don't get like, I don't want to make this sound like ungrateful and stupid, but I'm saying, like, sometimes you have a special piece that you're like really hang your heart onto, and then someone special wants it, like, and purchases it, and you even like, I would just give it to you, and they're like, no, 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 I buy it, you know. And then you come to their place and it's still hanging there, and you're like, oh, this makes me so happy that they see that as something that gives something to their life. But like, is that important for you, or does it also depends on the piece, or is it like, no, it's over, who cares, gone? Marsha, you haven't said anything.
Well, I have only officially sold one piece.
You should sell
And
more.
I know, and and I know who has it. It's not someone I know, but it's gifted to by someone I know to someone else. So that's fine. It's fine with me. So I don't know. No, I'm not the one to answer this question.
And it's nice. I have a piece that my aunt purchased for their new home, and she refused to let me give it to her or give her a discount or anything because she was family. She insisted on paying and, you know, and recognizing it. But it was really special to me to know that she liked something that I had done, that this is somebody that I know and care about, and that it was a piece that that was kind of a shared symbolism between me and her family. And so I thought that that was special. But on the whole, I'm just really thrilled if, you know, if somebody wants something that I've bought and that they love it enough that they want that to be part of their home.
I think what I love is when someone shares a story why they buy it, like what spoke to them, because it's not about like what my story is behind the painting. It's about what the other person who wants that piece, what they see in it. And that thrills me to no end. Like someone recently bought a painting that I did of a corner store, you know, like just because the significance of having corner stores in a city or bodegas where people have like this neighborly feeling, and they go in and you exchange some words with the person, and they may even like hold your packages, or you're cooking something and you're like, oh darn, I need an onion, and you're like running to the bodega at the corner, right? So, but someone bought this painting and she told me, my grandfather had a store like that, and this is making me so happy, and thinking about like, and hearing that story made like, it had not much to do with why I did it, but it made me so happy. Like, I love hearing why people see something in it. And that's like, I love that. Do you care about that? I mean, that's a weird way of asking that, but is that like something that you love to hear, why people purchase it and what they see in it, Mystele?
Yeah. I think it's this the same reason I like teaching. It's the connection with human beings.
Mm.
You know, the stories that connect us. And it can be like, I've painted it for a totally different reason, like you were saying, but it means something. It takes on a bigger story than what happens in my little studio, you know, and that it's beautiful. And hope this is not like too dramatic of a word, but it's mystical, you know.
Mhm.
It's so much bigger. Art is bigger than one person.
I love that. Yeah, it is actually, it is mystical, and the stories and the connections that we can make with artwork. So Jody Crane asks, how often do you make something that you absolutely love and want to keep it rather than sell it or give it away? It's a good question. Who wants to answer that first? Like, absolutely love and want to keep it rather than sell. Like, how often does that really happen?
Never.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
But it's again, it's the experience. You know that you love it now, but then further along the line, you develop, and you might change your mind. I know that I will change my mind. What do you think, Mystele?
What I love is the process. That's what I want to like. That's what I feed on. So the actual painting that's not the thing. That's just the result of the part that I love. So the paintings, yeah, I'm not attached at all.
I don't think that I really want to sell something that I don't love in a way. Like, if I do not love what I've made, I'm like, you don't see it. Most of the times you don't even see it. Like, I have tons of paintings that I do, and I started, and then there is something gets lost in the process, or sometimes sometimes I'm then tied up with something else, and I lose my connection and love for that piece, and I just don't care anymore. And then I will not sell what I don't love. I might put something up that I'm unsure about. Like, there's something that and then, but that I would say oftentimes that actually is resonating to the people as well, and it doesn't sell that well. But there's nothing that I would put up. Like, I mean, I'm not like saying that I'm in love with myself or something, but I'm saying like almost everything that I put up for sale, like, I really love too.
I think it makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do sell what I love, but I don't keep what I love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That is a great question. Here's another question that I think is coming towards that, why people ask us, what do you do with it, right? So for the things that we don't get rid of, or we don't, sell, I mean, with rid of, like throw away, or the things, how do you store it? Like, I mean, there is, I think, oftentimes just like space constrictions, right? How do you store your work? Who wants to, who is the tiniest place of all of us actually right now?
It might be, well, I don't know. It might be me, but maybe not.
You have one bedroom, right? Like your bed is
I'm in a
close by.
studio apartment with some storage. So I'm like a couple 100 square feet right now.
I think you have the smallest space. So let's
I
start
might.
with Gwen about that. So how do you store?
So I have like some baskets or bins, and I keep things stored vertically. The like the panels and the canvases, dimensional pieces, I'm a little bit more careful with, but I try to keep them as compact as possible while not, damaging them, because I do hope to sell or do something with them at some point. But I mean, that's a big part of the reason why trash happens, because you can only have so many things. There's only so much space. And if it's not selling, and if you're not wanting to hang it on your wall, then why are you keeping it? And so I get to a point where if it's been in my shop for so long, or but I have no desire to hang it, nobody in my family wants it, which is really common because they they don't get a lot of my work. A lot of my family doesn't. And which is okay, because it's not for everybody. It's my story, not theirs. And so I rip things apart and I'll repurpose. I throw things away, because you just can't keep everything. And if you don't want it and nobody else does, why are you keeping it?
Yeah, that is, I think then the space also kind of determines like how you get.
It's like your closet. You get to a point where if you want to buy a new dress, you got to get rid of something that's in there, because you can't, it's not like it's not Mary Poppins back in there. There's a limited amount of space, and you hit the maximum, and you just got to start getting rid of things. It's either that or stop creating, and I'm not sure that that's really possible.
So no, we know though that this is not space related, because I think Marsha, Mystele, and I have a little bit more space, but we still get rid of stuff. But how do you, in general, how do you like store things that that might, like, I guess I think it depends a little bit. Like, canvases are probably a little bit tougher than art journals, right? I do art journals. I love art journals because they are so compact, and you can kind of like store them vertically away. You could do the same with canvases though. How do you feel? I know Marsha, for example, has 1 million prints. I mean, like, not like, I'm not exaggerating.
No, but I don't consider most of them finished work. I have only, the ones that the real, the etchings and the lino prints, and those are finished work. And then the gel prints, most of them are just like collage pieces or something like that. They're not finished. But I store the pieces that I think are finished in a wooden box. It's only like this high, so but most of it is flat, right? Because that's why I don't do canvases anymore, because I don't have room for that. I can't deal with that. It's all flat, so I can put it all in the box. And then I have the random gel prints, and those are in containers, like upright, and I can go through them. And what else?
So you have a contained space too.
I do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
when it doesn't fit in there anymore, I have a problem. Then I will need to sell. And of course, my art journals are on a shelf, and I haven't run out of space yet, so they are still there, all of them. But yeah, if I run out of space, then I'll need to do something about that.
So Mystele,
I'm
sorry.
not willing. No, I'm not willing to reserve a bigger space for the journals or the artwork.
That's a good point. Like you're defining the space that it can take up.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. Mystele, so your paintings, do you store those? Are you hanging them before they get sold? Are you like, how do you store your wonderful paintings before they leave?
Yeah, so hold on, I'll show you.
I think that's a great like way to, know, like I hang all of my stuff basically.
Okay, I have this big portfolio, and everything is in here. And then there's a small box, again, like Marsha said, it's all flat. And so the smaller stuff is in there, and that's it. And I do have some shelving for things on wood, but it's just, it's contained. And so if I spill out, like we have no more room in our home for any of it. So it would have to either be donated or gifted, or, if it doesn't sell, I'm not going to hang on to it.
I think it's very interesting that you guys say the same thing. And I want to go back to the participants' questions in a second. But Jimmy Leslie, who is an artist that some of you know too, he has been a professor for art and, has been painting forever. I mean, now he's like, why do you make me so old? He's not that old, but he once said to me in a private conversation, I think, he said, well, I throw a lot of things away, and I have a little shed that's my defined space. And I actually even told my children, if I should go from this earth before I can take care of all these things, I just want you to know you do not have to keep any of those paintings. I give you permission to burn them, throw them, whatever you want to do. You do not have to feel like you have to, like that was my journey, that was my purpose. You don't have to feel like you have to hang on to them. And I thought that was really cool, because, like some people might have a hard time grasping that concept that what you would throw away your father's paintings. So I want to go to some of those questions that we have here. So Rose is asking, what kind of journeys have you been on, and is there always a journey or multiple journeys at one time? Is there someone who wants to go there first? How about you, Mystele? Do you always have a journey you're on, or is that sometimes also going in? I know that you are working on you said that in the beginning, that you are on a different path right now. What's your journey? Do you have multiple journeys? Do you always have a focus on that?
I guess, like, if I boiled it down, it is the tactile, like, expression, but there's also just plain old fun, in which I think is important, especially for adults, just to play, like to make something just to make it. And then right now I'm thinking more about illustrating. So I'm working on a book, and that is totally new, exciting, daunting, I don't know what I'm doing territory. But that, again, like the process of discovering what is this creature that I'm creating, it's so cool. I love the creative process, kind of no matter what it looks like. So I don't know, I think of food, it's delicious, I just want to eat it up.
As a designer, there's a path, and that's a journey. And so I would say there are multiple journeys And so there's always that one, and that has, that has its own purpose and its own path, and that has ebbs and flows and things where I'm very inspired and I'm drawing constantly, and I'll have insomnia and I'll be, drawing from 2 to 5 in the morning because I can't sleep, and I'm driven to really do that. And so there's the design journey, and then, I'll submit for my next deadline, and then that breaks. I stop, and I have to give that a breather so that I don't burn out. And then there's teaching as a journey. And I did a lot more than I usually do last year because I was really focused on trying to do online education and figure out how to do Facebook classes so that I could help friends of mine who own stores who were struggling because of the pandemic and not being able to have people come in to shop and people come in to teach, and just, what could I do to help? And so that was hard because for me, that was more about helping than about doing something that I really wanted to do. Given the preference, I would teach much less because for me, that's an extremely demanding journey. And it really makes it difficult for you to do the things that Mystele was talking about, where to have fun and to create for the sake of creating. And it gets very stressful. And so I've really pulled back a lot this year as things have started to open up, and I feel like my help is a little less needed. I don't know that I helped all that much, but it did help. I know that, the store owners shared that. And so I'm trying to shift to do things that that allow me to just be me, and to do things just because it feeds my soul and the need to create and to use my hands. And I think that is its own journey. Maybe it doesn't have a purpose. Maybe there's not a specific set of waypoints that that you're going to do or follow, but you're doing it because you can't help but create, because you need to have that release and that almost meditative act at times, and because you need to find a way to express who you are and your influences and the things that are important to you. And everybody does that in different ways. And for me, art is a big major way that I express that and fill that need. And so I think that's a journey that is always there. And then other things kind of come and go depending on what happens. But so I guess, yeah, the answer is yes. There's always something.
But there was a time when I wasn't creating anything with my hands, but I was making video. News segments. I'm always creating, but maybe not always with my hands, but then I'm creating in another way. And I know that there is always some kind of creating.
So you have a creative journey, but your creative journey goes in different ways. What you are actually
but it's also like what Gwen says. What you are on a journey, and then you do something, and then that goes away again, and sometimes it comes back again.
It also develops, right? Like for me, it's like the topic of gentrification or urban changes is always like very important for me, and I don't think that will change. I'm a city girl. I've always been interested in architecture and the history of buildings, but what changes is where I focus on. And from I can definitely say that from just the history, like it started with just the buildings, and then it went to I do an insane amount of research about I go in a rabbit hole about a neighborhood and the building, and I try to find, I go to the library, I do research online, I go to one of the city historians and have met him several times, masked up, and went through his archive and listened to stories. But now the next journey is that I want to do interviews with people that are in the neighborhood and incorporate that in some way. So that is like, for me, like the journey is kind of like there, but it just changes all the time in how I combine things that I would love to put in there. And it's not necessarily like the not necessarily something that I paint. It's more like now I'm more connecting with, I want to connect more with people. Before it was more with history and something that was gone. And now I'm like, okay, but what's the now and the stories of other people that I can put in there. So the journey is like a little street map where you have a destination, but you might do some turns and then find a better way. I think I don't know if it's an English saying too, but in Germany we say all ways lead to Rome. So I'm on my way to Rome, right? And I take some other turns and still get there. So we have another question here, which I want to do. Jean says, or I butcher your name and then please kill me later. How do you stay focused on your journey and your artwork? Focus is actually a good thing, right? We could fill like a whole like different webinar about focus, but like in general, how do you focus on your artwork? Is it hard for you to focus on your artwork? Do you have to make it really clear, this is my time where I focus on this journey and my artwork, or it comes naturally that you're like, I forget everything else. I can tell you that I need to like probably like Gwen, maybe she will say no or yes, but that I have had a hard time. I have worked so hard last year to really provide a lot of ways for people to connect and do Creative Jumpstart and the webinars, because I wanted to have this opportunity for people to come together and think of something else during the pandemic. But I felt a hard burnout in the last couple of weeks, and I cannot really paint. I'm slowly getting back to painting, but I just need some breather. But then I need to know, okay, now you're just procrastinating. When is the time to tell yourself, get back and paint, right? Focus. How is this for you guys?
So I'll chime in, because for me, I have a full-time job. I have a pretty demanding full-time job, and I actually just got a promotion, and so I'm dedicating even more time to that. And so it makes my answer a little bit different, and it's kind of split in two. So because there are classes and there are designs and things, and those things have deadlines, focus is, I have to actively work at it. And so I work in Kanban, and that probably means nothing to most people, but software development uses Kanban, and it's a way of doing, it's a continuous optimization kind of, you create a flow, a workflow. And so I have a list of things they're my backlog, and then things that I've moved to actively in progress. And then what are the steps in the flow? Do I need to photograph it? Do I need to write a blog post? Do I need to post it? And I have little cards that move through the flow, and I have deadlines posted in there. And then I work off of to-do lists in addition to that. And I use procrastination as a tool, especially for deadlines around like samples. Paper Artsy sends me my stamp sets to I have the stamps for my next release. I just released 3 days ago, but I'm not going to do samples with that set of stamps until maybe 2 weeks before they're due at the earliest, because I work so much better. And when I have those kinds of deadlines, it removes the overthinking for me to procrastinate, because then I can't do anything but just get it done. It just has to be done. And so there's that. But then for the things that I do for myself, I give myself permission to not focus and to focus on me and what I need. And so if I need a night where I don't do anything that has anything to do with art, maybe the closest I get is scrolling Instagram while I sit and watch the Hallmark Channel. That may be what I do. And I give myself permission to focus on me And then if art is a part of what I need, then I do it. And because you have to keep that balance, because because with work and with deadlines and everything, sometimes you just have to not do it, and that has to be okay.
How about you, Marsha?
Yeah, the deadline thing works the same for me. So I need a deadline to get going. So personal work, I don't. Yeah, we have talked about this before. That I do a printmaking class or a printmaking group. Okay, because of the pandemic, printmaking class didn't happen. So before the pandemic, that was my time to do my personal work. And there were also deadlines attached. So I knew that it was a kind of homework thing, that I knew that in several months' time, I needed to have work to present. So if you are asking me, have I done any personal work? I don't know. However, sometimes there are assignments like developing a workshop with you, or Creative Jumpstart, and then I can put some personal stuff in there. And when I can do that, I'm the happiest.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like if you can combine that. Mystele, how do you stay focused on your, you said earlier that you don't actually have like a lot of like deadlines in terms of designs or something, but how do you stay focused and make yourself like, or is the crave in you to create so big that you don't need to motivate yourself? Like how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I really genuinely love making things. So I don't have to force myself in that sense, but there is an ebb and a flow. And recognizing when, I think maybe you said this, like when you really do just need a break. Like, no, we're not machines. And so sometimes we just need to chill. And then there's other times where we know we're kind of self-sabotaging, and where the procrastinating is not, it's going to backfire, So just basically paying attention to your own life. And I don't know, that has helped me, because I think I used to kind of feel guilty in a sense if I wasn't working, but guilt is not a good motivator for me. So yeah, so just, I don't know, paying attention to yourself. And then to maintain focus, like when you're in a good spot, it's just like inspiration. Inspiration is bred by doing, so the focus, you create it by getting in there and making work.
I like this. This is a great, that was a great discussion. I loved really hearing. I wish we had more time, but I thought it was very, very interesting to hear all of your perspectives and thoughts about the journey. That was really, really cool. Thank you so much, guys, that you have been part of this discussion. And I hope you come back for some other webinar too, where we can do that. The recording of this will be available next week. Also, if you want to come back, which I hope, for the next episode of Spill Your Heart, I will just real quick tell you what it is about. The next episode is on June 25th, also at noon Eastern Standard Time. Kim just posted the registration link, and it will be about studio organization, which also is something that a lot of people have asked about. how do we address the problems of studio organization, supply overload, and what to do when you've got stuff all over the place, which might sound a little bit familiar to what we did before, but it's a little different, right? And my guests will be Ray Missigman, Tanya Ahmed, and Rachel Bellamy, and super excited. I thank you so much, Marsha, Gwen, and Mystele. This was so much fun. Please come back. Please come back to Creative Jumpstart. Put it out there in the universe now.
No pressure. It's
no
just
pressure. And thank you, every one of you guys that have joined us today. Thank you for taking your time to listen to us and ask us questions. That was very thought-provoking and really great. Have a wonderful weekend. If you're in the US, have a wonderful long weekend and a great start into your summer. So bye-bye.
Bye.